Hello and welcome to the video. Today we are doing Rhydon with one-hit KO moves only. So we are going to be naming our Rhydon Saitama today. This is obviously because we're going to be one-hitting everything in the run. There's really nothing that can stand in our way as long as we can actually hit anything. We're going to be going against a rival that has a Squirtle evolved into Blastoise by the end, so that's going to be really tough. I did set up this moveset that you see on the top left of the screen. Very specifically, I wanted a couple of different KO moves on this moveset, specifically Horn Drill and Fissure. This is because in Gen 1, type effectiveness does still affect OHKO moves, so I needed something that can hit ghosts, and I needed something that can hit any flying type Pokemon, so I needed both Horn Drill and Fissure. Not very many Pokemon learn both Horn Drill and Fissure. The top competitors were the Nidos and Rhydon, but it felt like Rhydon really was one of the kind of icons, I think, for Horn Drill and Fissure back in the day. Giovanni always ran these moves, but let's be honest, they're kind of terrible. The biggest problem is that OHKO moves in Gen 1 rely on speed. You have to outspeed your opponent to even be able to hit with them. A big issue with the early game is that we were fighting bug Pokemon that have String Shot. Now, String Shot is normally not an issue, it's normally kind of useless, but in this playthrough specifically, if my speed gets dropped below any of the opponent's Pokemon, it's over. I have to reset. There is no way for me to deal any damage to any Pokemon with higher speed than me. When I check at Brock to see what the speed I need is, it's 26 speed on the Onix. That is brutal for Rhydon early game. I actually need to go back and level up and keep working on it. We did catch a Pidgey. I named this Alex after Alex23. Thank you for the support in the comments, Alex. I plan on using subscriber names to name all of my Pokemon in most of these runs, so if you want to see your name pop up here, make sure to subscribe and leave a comment so you can get my attention, I can remember your name, and that will make it even more likely that you get into one of these videos. Now we can finally attempt Brock. It takes until level 16 to be ready to fight him, actually. Rhydon has much lower base speed than Onix, and that just puts me at a disadvantage level-wise. I just need to get more levels to catch up to Onix. Luckily I get stat experience and he doesn't have access to stat experience, so that really helps boost my speed up a little bit faster. Brock is just a matter of mashing either Horn Drill or Fissure until you get it to hit. Bide and all of the defense drops don't really matter. Once you get one hit, then you obviously get through. But the challenge is not over. At that point, we still need to get through some of the trainers on the route, including some more bug catchers that have String Shot, as well as this random rocket in Mount Moon that I try to fight while I'm fighting all the trainers. And he has Eradicate that has 38 speed, and I just can't beat him, so I have to reset. Luckily I saved right before him. We beat the Nerd, he's pretty easy, and then we get to Cerulean City. At Cerulean City, we have to make a decision. Either we have to fight the rival, or we have to fight Misty's gym and Misty. Now I know that Misty's going to have much higher speed than I have right now. We'll probably have to go to Vermilion City and fight all of those trainers and get that all cleared out before we can even fight Misty. That's what my guess is. We try to fight the Swimmer, but water moves just do so much damage to Rhydon that it's just so dangerous. The danger of OHKO moves is that they just get extra chances to hit these super effective moves while I'm trying to get through the battle. The Goldeen trainer really isn't possible either. I go back and try the Swimmer one more time because I feel like if I got lucky, I can beat him and that'll get me to level 20. Level 20 is typically a good level for the rival, but when I go to check the rival, we realize Pidgeotto has 33 speed and the Abra has 34 speed. So we actually are a little shy. At this point, we're going to have to level up probably a few times just to try to get through, but I do figure that I should just fight the Goldeen trainer, go train up in the grass, and use a rare candy, and that'll be enough. And in the first attempt, we get very lucky. Pidgeotto's main threat here is Sand Attack. If we got Sand Attack too many times, it's just going to take forever to knock this team out. Squirtle, though, can be really tricky. It has Water Gun and Bubble. Bubble obviously can drop speed as well, and that'll be an issue later. After the rival, we clear out as many trainers as possible on Nugget Bridge, as well as in the route after. On the way to Bill's house, we just try to get as much experience as possible. It gets us up to level 25, where we can fight this Lass, who has 2 Oddishes and a Pidgey. Now, she's a little scary, because, Oddish 4 times damage, Pidgey with Sand Attack. But we're able to get through. We're able to save Bill from his experiment, pick up the SS Ann ticket, fight the Rocket on the way out of Cerulean, and get over to Vermilion City. Before we are actually able to get into Vermilion City, we have to deal with this Sandy trainer here. She has 3 Pidgeys that all have Sand Attack, and that is a big issue for Rhydon. Obviously, Accuracy is already really hard to come by for these moves, so this many chances at sand attack is pretty brutal. You can see by the end of this fight, I get all the way down to a 7% chance to hit with all of these OHKO moves. I did set the PP for these moves up to the maximum at the beginning of the run just because I knew stuff like this would happen, and if I only had 5 uses, we would be here forever trying to get through some of these trainers. But even with this many uses, it really got tight in a couple of places. I then also fight all of the trainers possible in this entire area. We go straight to the SSN and check the rival's speed, and we find out that Kadabra has 45 speed. I'm still not quite fast enough, even with all of this training. So we clear out all of the trainers in the SSN. We come across this gentleman that has a Pikachu that fortunately outspeeds. That does not bode well for Surge. We're able to finally get trained up enough to get back to the rival at level 29, almost level 30. And we can start this fight. Sand attack right off the bat though from Pidgeotto is a little bit rough. It's definitely the worst thing I can do. The rock typing really helps against all these normal moves. But accuracy is definitely the struggle today. We can't learn Stomp, no other damage dealing moves besides our OHKO moves. That is the goal today. Kadabra could be scary with Confusion. Luckily it has Teleport and Disable as well. And we get a good hit against Wartortle, so that actually ends it pretty quickly. And that finishes the SSN. We can watch it sail off into the sunset. Now I do make a mistake here. In yellow version, Diglett can learn both Cut and Dig. We do name Diglett after Edmund. Thank you, Edmund, for subscribing. Thank you for the support. And I didn't actually get a Paris in Rock Tunnel, so I assumed that this would be just a fine replacement for now. I didn't really worry about it at the time. I should have. We then beat all of the trainers out here to the east of Vermilion because they are decent experience, at least at this point. I do backtrack and get Oddish as my cut user because I do still need that HM. I named this Edwin after Edwin. Thank you for subscribing. We're actually going to get an extra subscriber in our team today, which is awesome. We do finally get 57 speed, which does outspeed Misty Starmie at 56. So we can head back and we can fight her, which actually goes incredibly well. We got so lucky getting 2 hits on there. Got 2 hits at Misty right in a row, so we didn't actually take any damage from her Starmie, which would have been really scary. Surge actually isn't too bad either. He has the same speed as Misty, so I went right into it. But I realized that Surge has an X speed. That's a problem. So I decided to just come back to him later, and we'll just go ahead and move on with the other trainers. On the way to Rock Tunnel, there's this junior trainer that has grass Pokemon. And then I find out that the Sunspore is probably even scarier than any of the speed boosting stuff that the opponents can do. Because being paralyzed is permanently going to lower my speed. Even if I can heal the paralysis with rest or with an item if I was to do that, it's not going to reset my speed in Gen 1. I would still stay slower than they are. So that causes me a reset, but we get to the tunnel and you'd think this Cubone Slowpoke trainer would be a problem. There's 2 guys with Slowpokes here, but they're actually not bad. Cubones and Slowpokes are both slow. That really helps with ensuring that I get the 1 hit. So that's a huge help. The rest of Rock Tunnel is actually pretty easy. The hiker at the end is not a problem at all. Once we finish up Rock Tunnel, we're able to head towards Celadon City, and I also fight all of these trainers along the way. Still trying to fight for as much experience as possible. I'm already level 41 by the time I'm in the Rocket Hideout. I get Fly, and I'm able to fly back to Vermilion to fight Surge, and this should be plenty of speed now to be able to outspeed even if he uses an X speed on either of his Pokemon, hopefully. It actually goes pretty well. I get some lucky hits, and it's not really a big deal. He can't deal really any damage to me anyway, it's just the speed that was a problem. But once we have his badge, we can head over to Pokemon Tower and fight the rival. And the rival is going to be a little bit scary. Each time we fight him, he's going to get tougher and tougher. The good thing about this rival fight is that the Growlithe is still pretty much useless. The Execute also doesn't have Stun Spore yet, so that is a huge help as well. I mean, obviously Pidgeotto's Sand Attack is still there, that's still annoying, but the rest of his team isn't as bad as it will be later. The Wartortle still could be a problem, but I get lucky again on the Wartortle. Pretty fantastic that I get such good luck against him each time. Then I gotta fight the Chandlers, which is why I need a Fissure, also for Agatha later. This is the only OHKO move that I can learn that it can actually hit the ghosts, but it works and we can finish the tower and get up to the top and fight the rockets and get them out of here. Go back with Mr. Fuji to get his special flute, and then we can move on to Celadon again. Now Erica could theoretically be really tricky. She has Razor Leaf and Mega Drain, which are both going to be 4 times super effective and could pose a real threat because Rhydon's special is so low. Luckily her Pokemon are slow though, so I don't have to over level, and it's really just a game of luck really at this point. The biggest thing I'm scared of actually is either the Razor Leaf on Victory Bell or Constrict on Tangela. Now normally Constrict is useless really, but it can drop speed. But luckily I don't get too many speed drops and I don't get hit by Razor Leaf, but I do get hit by Petal Dance, which is still a really strong move. That does give me 1 reset, but I go ahead and try it again and I get much better luck this time. That's really what this fight depends on. We then can head out onto the bike route where I also fight all the trainers here. And then we can get over to Fuchsia City. Here in Fuchsia City we have Koga's gym and we have the Safari Zone. So I go over to Koga's gym just to see where we're at. Yeah, Kadabras again. I decided to do the Safari Zone and then go to Saffron and fight the Fighting Dojo. Since I have such high defense, this should be pretty easy. I get all the way to the gym leader, I guess he is technically the dojo master of the Fighting Dojo, and I do get a reset here because of Hitmonchan. I didn't realize going into this that, or I didn't remember that Hitmonchan had agility. I knew that somewhere deep in my brain, but you know. But we fight all the trainers again in Silphco, we get to the rival, and yikes. Alakazam now, 94 speed. At this point, I could have gone back to Koga. I still had it in my head with his Team in Yellow version, where he has a Venomoth that has like 107 speed or so. It really could have been done now, and that would have helped me overall. But I also needed the training anyway, so I don't think there was a huge impact. I just did training now instead of later. This sequence with the Bellsprout is, I think, the longest string of misses that I had in this entire playthrough. 15 misses in a row, and luckily I didn't get stun spored the entire time. It just shows that this 30% accuracy really sometimes can just be awful. We head back to the rival again now that we have enough speed to match the Alakazam. I think that's going to be enough with rest, so we go into it. We luckily don't get hit by Sand Attack. He has Sand Attack for a long time on this team, and that's really scary. The Growlithe, still not really an issue. Takedown doesn't deal any damage, but Execute now has Stun Spore. So that's a problem. If I get hit by Stun Spore, it's just, I can't be high enough speed to make that work. It just doesn't work. So unless I was to go over level, literally to maybe level 100, even then probably not even the Alakazam, it could probably still outspeed me because it comes first. So there's literally no way, I just can't be hit by Stun Spore. So I have to try this fight a few times, but I do get past him, get to the Alakazam. It does damage, but it's not like that bad. Confusion is kind of scary, but because if I'm confused it really messes it up, but rest really helps here. The accuracy drop is a little annoying, but you know, you can kind of play through these things sometimes. Eventually I can get lucky, but then I get to the Blastoise and he does a lot of damage, so I have to use rest, which stalls out the fight, which is not something you want to do against Blastoise because he also has Bubble. Now Bubble can drop speed, and if it drops my speed even 1 time, I'm significantly too slow. So I have to try the fight again and again until I get past Execute without getting Stun Spore, that I can get past Alakazam without fainting, and then get to Blastoise without getting hit by Bubble and take him out. So it takes a lot of attempts. I get all the way up to 41 resets to get the perfect luck to get through Pidgeot without the Sand Attack, without Execute without the Stun Spore, Alakazam without taking too much damage, and Blastoise without the speed drop. And it finally happens. I got so scared because I got hit by Bubble a couple of times here, and I really was just hoping that I would not get a speed drop because that would just end it. It was such a perfect play on this team right now. A third Bubble, still no speed drop, so lucky, and I finally get that Horn Drill. I literally have the same, I think, chance to get slowed by Bubble that Horn Drill has to hit, which is insane. Giovanni, though, is a breeze. His team must be weak to Fissure or something, because it's just so easy. In training, I found this Magikarp trainer, by the way, and this just shows how pathetic it is. A level 58 Rhydon, and I can't even take out a Magikarp. OHKO moves in this generation are just kind of worthless. It's just so much better to even have just Tackle sometimes than it would be to have these OHKO moves. By the time I finally get around to Koga, I realize I could have done this way earlier. His fastest Pokemon is Weezing with 63 speed. I got scared by the Kadabras in his gym, and really it could have been just a piece of cake, and it would have been helpful. But like I said, I needed the training anyway. I'm level 60 at this point, so I'm way over leveled. And with rest, I can avoid poison, I can avoid toxic. That does help though going into Sabrina, but then I realized I'm just 1 speed short at Sabrina, so I need just another level and I could beat Sabrina. Pick up the Lapras. We name this one Devanced after our subscriber. Thank you so much, Devanced, for your support. You are awesome. And I head over to the Pokemon Mansion. This is just to kind of get some things done while I'm picking up some levels. I figure might as well beat Blaine too before Sabrina. I'll get the special boost this way, and that'll just help prevent some of the damage there, and I don't think it's going to be a problem. My typing really helps here. In Red and Blue, Blaine is actually pretty famous for being pretty bad. His team doesn't have great moves. He uses super potions randomly. Between that and the typing for Rhydon, even though my special is low, I'm not that worried, and it seems like I'm right because it just goes so quickly, so easily. Just a bunch of fissures and done. None of his Pokemon are fast enough to be a problem. None of them deal enough damage to be a problem. It's over that quick. After that, we're able to go back to Sabrina. So I finally have enough speed, but I know her Pokemon are still going to do a lot of damage. Mr. Mime can set up barriers, but that won't matter. The real problem is either the damage output from Kadabra or paralysis that I can get from Venomoth. So Venomoth's Stun Spore is a huge problem here. Because she has good AI, it seems like she knows that she needs to set up when I come into it at high health. Not really sure if that's the case, but that seems to be the trend at least. So I tried a few times, I finally get to Alakazam. It's doing a lot of damage, but I have a rest, so I can kind of balance that out. I just need to get 1 successful hit is all I need. Confusion makes it really tough, the damage makes it really tough, and finally I get one of those hits, and it's done. It's weird how that works. You feel like you can't do anything in these fights, and you just keep trying moves that aren't working, and then all of a sudden you just win. It's a weird feeling, and it doesn't feel balanced or like consistent at all. And I know that's kind of the point, they're supposed to be kind of inconsistent, but like, why make it worse than other moves, like Earthquake? After Sabrina, we get to go to Giovanni, the master of Fissure and Horn Drill. He definitely loves these moves, considering he has it at least 3 OHKO moves actually on his team here in Red and Blue, and I know that he has maybe even more in Yellow, because also his Dugtrio has Fissure in Yellow. He doesn't have a Rhyhorn, so maybe this is actually more, but it's really easy. None of his Pokemon are very fast. The Dugtrio is the fastest, but it's too low a level to like be that much of a problem. His Nidos can't do any damage. Body Slam could have paralyzed, which I was keeping an eye out for, but it didn't happen. Poison isn't a problem because I have Rest if I needed it. And then his Rhydon is just going to spam Fissure and Horn Drill back at me, but they won't do anything. He's too slow, and his AI can't figure that out and just keeps using it until he finally just goes down. We head over to the rival just to kind of see where we're at, see what we need to aim for. We realize his Alakazam now has 133 speed. That is brutal. It's going to be a little bit of a struggle to get up to that level. I go back and train at the power plant. It seems like a good place to do it. I also can get another rare candy here. After I train up for a few levels, I can head back, use the rare candies, get up to level 70, just to kind of see how this would play out. We can go ahead and dive into a fight with him, and we realize that not just Pidgeot, but also his Growlithe have agility. That's, I think, the first time we've seen agility on a moveset, and it's immediately going to be a huge problem. Because his AI is going to want to set up, and agility is also a neutral damage move when these Pokemon only have not very effective moves otherwise. So his AI is just going to spam agility. Normally that's good, because after 3 agilities it doesn't do anything, and speed kind of doesn't make a huge difference in these Pokemon games. Either you outspeed or you don't, but like having crazy high speed isn't going to make that much of a difference. But for today, I can't have him use agility at all. So I need him to not use agility on either of them, and I need to get hits right away, all the way through basically. So it takes me until 76 resets to get the 1 hit on the Pidgeot. I can then use the Rhyhorn to actually badge boost myself. I'm going to use Leer, which I now have. I now have my final moveset, Leer instead of Tail Whip. What an upgrade. But I can use Leer to kind of stall him out and get more Tail Whips, so that my other stats can get boosted. This helps if they use 1 agility, I can probably still get a hit on. But Execute doesn't use Stun Spore, which is key. I get the 1 hit on Alakazam. I finally can get to the Blastoise. So Blastoise does have Hydro Pump, which is super strong. But I get the 1 hit, it uses Withdraw for some reason, probably because it's a water move as well, and we're able to get through. heading into Victory Road. I do get reset on one of the random trainers in here because they have a Parasect with Stun Spore, and that just isn't immediately lost, and I had to rebattle some trainers, which is annoying, but that's just the way it goes with grass Pokemon. They have tons of setup, can really be a problem. This gets me to the Elite Four, and we can start with our battle with Lorelei. Now, I am level 72 going into the league, which is really high, but I know that I'm going to have some issues later, which we can get to in a bit. Lorelei, though, is obviously very scary right off the bat. They have a lot of water moves here. They have Water Gun on the Slowbro, which isn't a huge issue, but you know it's water moves, so it does 4 times damage. And then they have Ice Punch on Jinx, and then Hydro Pump on Lapras, which is the biggest threat. My first run I actually did really well, though. I got all the way through to the Lapras. I made it past Slowbro, which I wasn't really sure if it would happen or not. I go back in again, but Jinx with Ice Punch gets a lucky freeze. I get really lucky. I get just barely past the Lapras on my last attempt. That does put me at 79 resets, though. And then there's Bruno. We can just kind of, as I come into Agatha, you can see me pause here for a moment. I have an issue. The last Gengar outspeeds me by just a few. I was about to say I need to use my last couple of rare candies. There's no way that I can get 146 speed to be able to at least match the Gengar. Arbok has Screech, and that could badge boost me. I just need to get hit by one Screech. That badge boosts me enough that I could outspeed the Gengar. I could still make this work without using my rare candies. I wanted to prove that I could outsmart Agatha and get this done even with a disadvantage like that. But I didn't realize one weird thing about Gen 1. Haze will actually remove your badge boosts. Even the 12% you're supposed to get from a badge. Like, it will remove that too. So that means I needed extra badge boosts at Arbok. So I was stalling out Arbok, we were taking our time, trying to get an extra Screech in there so I can have enough speed. And somehow, when I'm asleep, it triggers Agatha to send in Gengar. But now this is a problem because I can't really rest that much because Gengar has Dream Eater. And I need Arbok to come back in to give me one more badge boost so I can actually hit Gengar. I can't hit Gengar right now with 141 speed. So because of that, I'm just using Leer instead of Fissure. I don't want to use my PP if I don't have to. Using Leer to kind of stall her out until she can finally maybe get Arbok back in here. But I eventually do get Arbok to switch back in, and I get a couple more Screeches, and then I'm good. I can then just one-hit the Gengar, we can get out of there. That Haze, though, really threw me through a loop on that. I wasn't expecting that. And that brings us to the most difficult trainer in this entire run, and the one that I had to break one of my typical rules for. Normally, I would not use Double Team. Most Pokemon can learn this, it's really broken, and if you get into a tough battle, you can just spam it out until you are fully set up and you are really like super invulnerable to almost anything. So I don't like to use it for most battles. However, at this point, as you can see in the top, I'm over 3.5 hours into this playthrough right now, and I'm only level 76. I think maybe it would have been possible to outspeed Aerodactyl at level 100 with full stat experience, maybe. I'd have to check. But I didn't want to sit here for another, 2 hours maybe? Just training on wild Pokemon? The other problem is that both of the Dragonairs have agility. It's not a guarantee that they'll use it, but there's a good chance that they will. So even if I survive a Hydro Pump from Gyarados, which is a ton of damage and really scary, and if it gets a crit, I'm done. But if it doesn't, and I survive, or if it misses, I can get to the Dragonair, which then can use agility, and then I can't get past it, so then I have to reset. And even if I beat that Dragonair, there's a second one with agility, which I also have to beat and do the same thing again. Make sure it doesn't use agility. If it does, I reset. The scary thing is that Dragonite could do this to me as well, and Aerodactyl obviously naturally outspeeds. I feel like it was more interesting, though, to use the double team badge boost strat than it would have been just to just spoof in a bunch of rare candies and get myself up to 100 by cheating. So I went with the double team strategy instead for my own sanity to get this done. Once I'm faster, it's not a problem. I can't really do much damage. And then I actually get a one-turn hit on Dragonite. That was just perfect. For the champion, I'm level 76. I think this is the highest level I've ever been for a Pokemon Red playthrough. But I went into the champion fight just kind of wanting to test it out. I don't know what it's going to be like. I don't know what we're looking out for speed stats or damage ranges. I really don't know. I realize that I'm going to have to use one double team on the Alakazam. That doesn't feel like too bad. I went ahead and did it. I didn't want to have to reset and go train at this point. I have to do the whole league again. It didn't really affect any of the other Pokemon though, because they all missed and hit about the same what I would expect anyway, so I think it was okay. Once I got past Alakazam and the Pidgeot, I think that it was kind of free ride until I got to the Blastoise. Luckily, Pidgeot doesn't have Sand Attack anymore. Rhydon is kind of useless with Horn Drill and Fury Attack, and then he also has Tail Whip and Leer. Super weird. Arcanine doesn't do a ton of damage with Takedown. Ember is pretty weak. The Hypnosis and Barrage is just annoying from Exeggutor, but like, shouldn't be that bad. I get to level 77, then we get to the Blastoise, which has Blizzard and Hydro Pump. It's two really powerful moves again. But I get lucky, and I get a quick hit on the Blastoise. Once again, luck at the Blastoise at level 77. It took real time of 3 hours, 46 minutes, 45 seconds, game time of 12 hours and 34 minutes. It was a challenge for sure. Like and subscribe if you want to see more of these. Leave some recommendations in the comments of stuff you want to see. Have a wonderful day.